Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joe Hindy, the Android Authority app guy, and welcome back to the Android Apps Weekly Show. This is episode number 142. We have a ton of news to get to, so let's get started. Some stats were released this week that showed the world's most popular messaging apps. WhatsApp took home the crown, and some apps like Facebook Messenger, Viber, and WeChat showed well in certain countries. Fun fact, BBM is installed on almost 90% of Android devices in Indonesia. Not bad for a service that most people think is entirely irrelevant. After polemicists went nuts over the last week, the developers of ES File Explorer have decided to roll back the update and remove the abomination that was the charge boost and lock screen advertising. There are still a bunch of cleaner features that are pretty much useless, but it is a little less bloated than it was before, and hey, score one for the anger of the internet. After a wildly successful launch, new stats have been thrown out there that suggest that Miitomo isn't doing as well as it was a month ago. The stats show that the download numbers of Miitomo have slowed to a crawl, and only about 25% of people who have downloaded the application open it up on a weekly basis. This has some concern about Miitomo's longevity, but that's to be expected when you release a game that does nothing. Last week we told you that Pokemon Go was accepting signups for their beta. Well, this week that beta went live. People are getting invites that signed up for the beta last week, and you may be lucky enough to snag a beta invite if you signed up. We imagine that the game will be coming out sometime in the coming months, so keep your eyes peeled. Google is working on a very ambitious project that would remove the need for passwords from applications by 2017. The idea is to use various metrics and sensors in your device along with the Trust API to determine if you are who you say you are without you having to do anything. There will be varying security levels depending on the type of application that needs a password, but it seems like the really big stuff will require a bit more than just being in the right GPS location. We'll know more about it later this year. For even more Android apps and games news, check out this week's newsletter, which is linked in the video description below. There you'll find a ton of fun news that we didn't have time for here. If you'd like, you can sign up using the form in the written companion, which is linked in the video description below, and we'll email that newsletter directly to your inbox every Sunday. If you want the latest news even faster, check out the official Android Authority app. Alright folks, let's take a look at some apps that made some big news this week. As usual, if you want to check out any of these apps or games for yourself, you can find those links in the video description below. Romancing Saga 2 is an RPG that was released all the way back in 1993 in Japan only. This last week, the game was released on mobile along with PS Vita, and this release includes English translations for the first time ever. You'll play as the Emperor, and it's your job to build up your kingdom and defeat the 7 heroes that have turned into demons. The game also features new classes, a new Game Plus mode, and some additional gameplay features. It's quite expensive at $18, but that's pretty normal for a Square Enix release. Once upon a time, foobar2000 was one of the best audio players on PC. It was lauded for its simple interface, lightweight nature, and support for various codecs. Now the retro audio player is available on Android. It features a very simplistic design that, we admit, would have looked a little better with some material design thrown in. It supports a variety of formats including FLAC, MusePack, and others. It's free with no in-app purchases, which is definitely worth a try, but do beware that they're still working on it and there are still some bugs. Crashing Season is a game that is known as a closed runner. It has some charming 3D graphics, and you'll play as a bunch of different animals as you run around, survive wave after wave of bad guys, and defeat bosses. The game includes unlockable content like more animals, boosts, power-ups, and accessories. Given that it's a freemium game, you can probably guess that a lot of that stuff can be purchased with real money if you want it that bad. It's a fun little time waster, and there is even multiplayer support. Science Journal is a little-known Google application that was released during Google I/O. The idea is that it allows you to use the sensors in your phone, or you can connect to outside sensors and then use the application to record data, test results, and perform actual scientific experiments and research. Like most Google apps, this one is entirely free and steeped in a heavy dose of material design. It's a great app for students especially, and you can find out more by going to makingscience.withgoogle.com. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is an adventure game where you play as two kids who are on a quest to find some water of life to save their ailing father. In the game, you'll have control of both brothers simultaneously most of the time, which means this is one of those few games that actually plays better on a touchscreen than it does with a controller. The story is emotionally charged, the graphics look good, and aside from some early bugs, it seems to play pretty well. The Google Play listing said there would be in-app purchases, but we really couldn't find any. Okay, so this week's episode isn't sponsored, but we wanted to take a second to tell you about Smart News. Over the weekend, Android Authority was added to the Smart News app as a featured channel, and we wanted to tell you a little bit about it. It's a really nice news application that aggregates aggregates news from all kinds of popular, reliable, and otherwise relevant sources. Starting this week, Android Authority has joined an illustrious cast of blogs and sites, and we wanted to talk about it for a second. Smart News is a free application that you should definitely check out, and we'll have that link for you alongside all of these other ones in the video description below. And that about does it for this video, folks. If you want to watch more, we'll have Bailey's first look at the Axon 7 linked up there on the screen and in the video description below. Don't forget to check out the newsletter and sign up for it if you're interested, and as always, keep it tuned to Android Authority because we are your source for all things Android. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a wonderful day.